together at the mountaintop, champions of college football.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a late week edition, or should we say bag of recruiting chips. As always, I am Jeremy, the couch potato. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate. And as we said at the end of your opening drive, if something happens, we'll be here. And lots of things have happened.
Yeah, lots of things have happened, man. It's been a crazy 48 hours in the Buckeye recruiting world, man. So I'm excited to get to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had 3 commitments since Monday. We've had a pretty big name shut it down. We got a couple guys on campus this weekend, and we had an in-state guy commit elsewhere.
Yeah.
What a run. Like, it's so funny how recruiting goes in waves and momentum. And I don't know that the train's going to slow down, though.
Yeah, we're definitely on a heater right now. I think coming off the national championship, I think everybody kind of expected it to happen right away. Because we're the national champs, you expect things of, people want to join and be a part of it right now. But it didn't happen that way, but you're starting to see people wanted to see what was going to happen with this coaching staff. And they're starting to see these coaches out on the road. They're starting to get to know Tyler Bowen. They're starting to get to know Coach Patricia. They're starting to see where they fit within this new scheme. And they're starting to get to know these new guys, and they're like, you know what, I think I want to be a part of this, man. And so it's pretty cool to see like these new guys coming in and building these relationships and these guys jumping on board, man. So the Buckeye coaching staff is really killing it right now.
Yeah, and all 3 guys defensive guys. So I know that tickles your heart.
Yeah, it does.
Monday, it started with a bang. Blaine Bradford, the number 1 safety in the composite rankings, number 23 overall player, 6'1", 207. The thing that jumps, obviously, the part that makes this a big win is this kid's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Yeah.
I'm probably wrong, but this might be the first. Now, granted, this is going to be a battle to keep this kid. It was an LSU, Texas, Ohio State battle, but the last guy from Louisiana I can remember is Nader Abdallah.
Yeah, I think wasn't Chimdi Chekwa from Louisiana? I'm pretty sure he was from Louisiana. I thought I saw him tweet something about being from Louisiana, and that's not an easy thing to go down.
Florida.
Okay. So just going down south anyway and just getting these guys from the south is not an easy thing to do. And so to get somebody from Baton Rouge and who's got a brother at LSU, that's not an easy thing to do, man. And so, Coach G and Tim Walton, man, they're just out there killing it right now. This guy he's a stud.
Yeah, absolutely. Athletic as heck. Plays baseball, runs track. Other little caveat about it, too, is that his brother is currently on the LSU roster.
Yeah.
Jair Brown.
Okay.
Was from Louisiana, and Vic Cutler.
Okay.
So I was wrong, but, obviously Jair Brown ended up back at LSU. And But yeah, so this is a huge win for Coach G. I mean, this gives him a second straight recruiting class with a top 2 safety.
Yeah,
which
it's a pretty big deal.
Be the new guy on the block, that's pretty impressive. I couldn't get his tape to load, but obviously with it being a defensive guy, I'm going to punt to you anyway.
Yeah, I've watched his tape a few times. He's an all around safety. The thing that jumps off the film right off the bat is he is a very physical player. He is a thumper. When you watch his film, he really reminds you of Lathan Ransom. He can really cover, but the first thing that you're going to see is he's a very violent player. He likes to be down in the box, but that does not take away from his coverage ability. He is a rangy player, but he will come downhill and hit you. So I naturally see why some people would say, he's got the Lathan Ransom comparisons. That is a type of safety I believe the Buckeyes see in him as well. He can really do it all, though. But I see why he's ranked so high. This kid is a baller, but he is violent. He's very technically sound. You can see that he is well coached. You can see that he takes coaching really well as well. So that's one of the things I really like seeing. Obviously he's a natural athlete, number one safety in the country, but you could just see some of the little tiny details in his game that, he's being coached and he's taking coaching from his school down in Baton Rouge. And so I think that's a really good thing to watch on film. And he can play. He can flat out play, and he will knock your block off. They move him around. They line him up on the edge sometimes and bring him off the edge and blitz him. They'll line him up as a middle safety. They'll line him up as an apex safety. They'll line him up as a strong safety. They just do a lot of different things with him. And so he's got a lot of versatility. He's listed at 6'1", 207. It'll be interesting to see if that's his actual size. But if that is, he's very comparable to Lathan. And I think, he gets to Ohio State, if he can stay in that range, might get up to like 215. He's going to be that true strong safety that's going to be rolling down into the box. And he's a very versatile guy. He could be that big nickel. There's just a lot of different things you can do with him, man. And so to get the number one safety in the fold is huge. And I think this guy's got a bright future. Hopefully the Buckeyes can hang on to him. Obviously, we know that the recruiting world is always crazy. His dad has been very active on Twitter with Devin Sanchez's father, saying that they're shutting it down pretty much. But, obviously it's a long way till National Signing Day. But if we can keep this guy in the fold, man, I think this is a guy that we'll be talking about him the way we talk about Fahim Delane this year, potentially getting on the field very early, whether it's on special teams or being a rotational safety. So I'm excited about this one, man. This was a good get.
Yeah, I agree. His dad is saying all the right things, but so did Naeem Alford's. But then again, the Sanchez family, I mean, we've talked about it numerous times, man. I never really saw Alford's parents interact with the Sanchez's. So I think, the Sanchez's are built differently. So if the Bradfords are, gravitating toward the Sanchez's, that's a good sign because, birds of a feather flock together. So, that came out Monday. And, Tuesday, Wednesday were fairly quiet. And then Thursday, we get another commitment from Simeon Caldwell out of Jacksonville, Florida. 4-star recruiting services mostly have him listed as a linebacker. Common consensus is that he's going to play safety at Ohio State. 6'3", 185, which I can see why. You know, especially if you get a kid like with that frame with Coach Mick and you get him up to like 6'3", and let's say if 185 is real, you've seen him at 205 somewhere.
Yeah.
So we get him to 6'3", get him up to like 225, 235. That's scary. The nephew of OG Walt.
Yep.
Miami, USC, Notre Dame, and this is another kid that shut it down. Canceled visits. I watched his film, and obviously I'll let you dive into this deeper. But for being a kid who's considered a linebacker, it's almost like they played him as a big nickel.
Yeah, they definitely played him as a big nickel. They definitely played him all over the place, very similar to Blaine Bradford. He lined up more as a middle linebacker at times as well, so I can see why people think he's going to play linebacker. But he has the athletic ability to play safety. They played a lot of man coverage with him, and he would line up in the slot and play against wide end slot receivers. And so if he is that big nickel, if he plays at safety, which I think he'll start out as a safety, I could totally understand that. He is legitimately 6'2", 6'3". I compare his size to what we saw with Sonny Styles when he first got to Ohio State, right? We knew he was going to get bigger, but he wasn't that big when he got to campus. Like, he was a good size, but he wasn't what he is now. So he was a tweener. Where do you put him? Well, you put him on the field. You put him in the spot where he can get on the field the fastest. And so for Sonny, that was at safety, right? And so I think this could be a similar situation, right? I'm not saying he's going to be Sonny Styles. We know how great Sonny is. But I'm saying this is a type of kid that is going to be in that Sonny Styles role. What happens to his body when he gets to campus? That will dictate where he plays. He's got the athletic ability to play safety and do that at a high level. Very similar to, I'm going to butcher his name, Malik, the safety. Why am every time I want to, Malik Hartford, the freshman. Yeah, Malik Hartford. the similar guy, came from Cincinnati, busts on the scene as a freshman. He's that type of build, but similar to Malik Hartford, you don't know what his body's going to do. If Malik Hartford comes back after his sophomore season this year and he's 225 pounds, well, guess where he's probably going to be playing? He's going to end up playing linebacker, right?
Yep.
This is the way this kid is going to be built. And so this is another good get. Obviously, connections to OG Walt, shut down his recruitment. Again, this is a very versatile player who's going to be added to the secondary, potentially the linebacker room. He's just a hybrid player. You can never have too many hybrids. If Matt Patricia sticks around, as long as we hope that he does, especially if the defense goes out and plays well, he's going to maximize these hybrid type players. And so I'm all for it, man. I think this guy he's a thumper, sideline to sideline kid. He's very rangy, and it's just the type of athleticism you want on this defense.
Yeah, and he's very physical both against the pass and the run.
Yeah, he is.
That was one of the things that stood out to me because of that flexibility. And, we saw it with Bradford and with Caldwell both. Ryan Day's talked about the position versatility on the offensive line. Now you're seeing him recruiting guys that give you that versatility in the defensive backfield too.
Yep, for sure.
Again, another one that shut it down. Kind of came out of nowhere. I think everybody expected him to be a Buckeye, but not this soon, especially because you had Miami and USC at play.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of Ohio State guys that we're recruiting end up flipping to this. Also, the high school teammate of Corbin Fordham. So a cool little tidbit there.
Okay.
Yeah, anytime you can get a couple of those guys on the same squad, gives you a roommate situation, that type of thing. And then today, pretty early this morning, I'm just going to let you have this one because this is awesome. The fact that, we started this thing, let's say 15 months ago, and not just a kid that played for your team, but a kid that was in your position group has committed to the Buckeyes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. So linebacker CJ Sanna from Olentangy High School in Lewis Center, Ohio. 6'3", 225 pounds. Just absolute stud, man. I don't even have words to describe him. Just a fantastic kid. Committed to the Buckeyes this morning. He's going to be playing linebacker. Coach Laurinaitis really pinpointed him as somebody who had the athletic ability and the traits that he wanted in a true inside backer. And so they recruited him hard. He's got a guy. He's a kid who had a lot of ties to Pittsburgh. He's got some family over there. His uncle's actually the linebackers coach at Pitt. And so this was a situation where this was not an easy thing for him to do. Pitt is very comfortable place for him, but CJ was very meticulous about how he went about his recruiting process. He was very real about his recruiting process, and he didn't want to play the NIL game. He didn't want to do any of that stuff. He just wanted to go out and play football. And so to see this all come to fruition, man, was pretty cool. He FaceTimed me today, which was nice. I couldn't go to work today because our sitter was sick, so I had to stay home with the baby. So it was nice to get a little FaceTime from him, and it was just fun, man. So I'm excited for him. But this kid's got all the intangibles. Not only is he a great kid, but he's got all the athleticism in the world. He's a true inside backer. When I say that, I mean that in the most linebackerish terms. He is a sideline to sideline kid. Do not underestimate his athletic ability. He's been playing the linebacker position for 1 year. He was a defensive end his sophomore and freshman season. This is a kid who's still learning how to play the position. His best football is ahead of him. He is a very fluid athlete. He is a nationally recognized shot and discus thrower. He will be, really pushing for a discus state championship this year. That will be a thing. And so he's a well-rounded athlete. And so this is a kid who's going to go to Ohio State. He's going to compete, and he's going to have an opportunity to see the field early on special teams. I truly believe that. I think he's got that type of ability. He is a very versatile player. I think he'll be able to rush the passer. I think he can do a lot of different things for the Buckeyes when it gets there. And so that was one of the things that Coach Laurinaitis really enjoyed about him and his recruiting. And so he thought CJ provided a lot of those things for them. And so I'm just glad he's a Buckeye. Obviously, I would have been rooting for him wherever, if he would have went to Pitt, I would have bought a Pitt polo. Wherever he would have ended up, I would have been rooting for him. But I'm glad he's a Buckeye, man. So it's pretty cool. It is. It's pretty cool. You never care where the kids go, but when they go to the school that you grew up rooting for, and you'd see them fulfill a dream, because Central Ohio kids typically root for the Buckeyes. Like, it was awesome. So to see him, decked out in scarlet and gray today, like, that was, I know that was a good feeling for him and his family. So I'm pumped for CJ.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, watching the tape, I mean, the kid's fluid. And, he's already 6'3", 225.
Yeah.
So, again, you can always assume 20 pounds, give or take, when they get to college.
Yeah.
So, you get a 6'3", 245. I mean, you're talking like true Mike Backer, like, give him a neck roll and some Latimer face paint and let him go. I mean, that is – it doesn't get any better than that. This is a kid who, for being let's just call him raw. He's already the 20th ranked player in the state, and this is a good Ohio class.
Yeah.
He's the 35th linebacker in the country.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a 4-star when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
The other cool thing I always like to see, this is a kid that essentially earned his offer. He didn't get offered until January.
Yeah.
And he had a list. His offer list was like 25 schools long. I think the common consensus was Wisconsin, Pitt were kind of the two threats, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, Coach Laurinaitis pulls it off. I assume we're going to have Sincere Johnson paired with him. So there's another Ohio kid.
Yeah.
One kid we're not going to have with him, because we talked about, all Ohio linebacker core. Storm Miller committed to Texas A&M. That family must hate Ryan Day. But, it's been a good week. And, as far as the new guys go, but arguably the biggest news of the week, Chris Henry Jr. shuts it down.
Yeah, man.
Comes out on April Fool's. I thought I was getting played at first.
I did too.
And says, no more visits. It's done. OSU's home.
Yeah. Which is, that's huge. I mean, we remember what we went through, what Coach Day went through with Jeremiah Smith. I mean, we talked about it a few episodes ago. And Jeremiah, he said it all along. As long as Coach Hart's there, I'm going to be a Buckeye. And, Chris Henry Jr. said the same exact thing. As long as Coach Hart's there, I'm going to be a Buckeye. Well, Coach Hart just became the full-time play caller. And so I doubt Coach Hart's going to be going anywhere for the next couple of years. And so he probably felt comfortable enough to just go ahead and shut this down. And I don't know what the conversations were that really made him feel comfortable in doing that. But he did it. And that's huge. And to make sure you get him in the fold, you're talking about having a Jeremiah Smith and likely his last year in college, and Chris Henry Jr. as a true freshman, and Quincy Porter is going to be on that roster too. So you're talking about 3 5-star receivers that are all 6'3" or taller. That's just, I don't even have words for what that receiving core could be. And obviously we're projecting down the road a little bit, but holy crap. That's got potential to be a fantastic receiving core. And so to get him in the fold, man, he's got the potential to be the next type of Jeremiah Smith type of kid. And so getting him locked down, man, that's huge. And, obviously I think he's recovering from a knee injury.
Yep.
And so, he'll probably be an early enrollee. So the earlier we can get him on campus, the better. Hopefully he's back for his senior season, is healthy, balls out, we get him on campus, and then, we can get him rehabbing or whatever we got to do. But it's good. It's huge, man. We need this kid. And Coach Hart is going to continue to kill it on the trail, man. It's unbelievable what he does with that room. I can't even wrap my head around the success that he's had in recruiting. Like, it's just unbelievable year after year.
Yeah. And I'm not so sure that Coach Locke is not headed down that same path.
Yeah.
I don't know that Savion Hyler is the number 1 back in the country, and it's an OSU Michigan battle. and there are numerous other running backs in the conversation, along with a loaded room now. Speaking of running backs in the 26 class, I think we've got a commit watch this weekend. Delaware Hayes, obviously 30 minutes down the road from us. Favor a key third visit in like 4 weeks. I just feel like that's about to pop.
Yeah.
And that's the common consensus. Another name, there's some scuttlebutt out there to keep a name on this weekend, is Braylon Womack. I think that would be a surprise. Again, we are not insiders, but if you get a commitment from Womack, your safety class is done.
No doubt about it.
Number 2 safety in the country to go with the number 1 safety in the country. Obviously, this kid's from Mississippi, Ohio State, Auburn, A&M, Florida, Alabama. Again, you get a commitment this week. Say you get a commitment this weekend, it's going to be a war to keep him. But I think Coach G is really becoming him. Coach G, Coach Walt, and the number of these kids that you're already hearing talk about Matt Patricia.
Yeah. And I've said this before. Well, first off, Braylon Womack is, I think he is that Caleb Downs type. And so if we're able to lock him up, you're talking about having 3 guys that are, 3 different types of safeties for us. And so that you're hitting all facets of what we need or want in a safety room. And so that would be a phenomenal job. But when we talk about Coach Patricia, remember what we said when we first hired him. When you're at the mountaintop and you're winning all these Super Bowls and you finally get the job that you thought you always wanted and you don't succeed, it humbles you. Like it humbles you. And you thought there was a way that you had to do things, and then it knocks you down a few pegs. You go on this journey. Like, you got to go find yourself again. And I think that's what he's doing at Ohio State. I know we're only in a few weeks of spring, but just to see the way that he's interacting with the guys, I don't know how much success he's going to have as a defensive coordinator. But what I see, from the 2 practices I've been at and from the clips that we see, it is refreshing to see a coach look like he's having fun again. And like, that is something that I can relate to and that I respect so much. It just is refreshing to see a coach look like he's enjoying the game of football again, and that the players can feel that as well. And so, that bleeds over to recruitment. The players that are, the Buckeyes are recruiting, they see that. Then it comes off as authentic, and then they want to play for a coach that looks like they're enjoying the game. And so, Coach Patricia is doing a really good job on the trail. You can tell he's enjoying that whole thing over. And it helps that he's got that, relationship with Tim Walton from back when they were at Syracuse. They're the same exact age. He's like, Tim Walton is not a very young man. He's 50 years old. He's out here on the trail grinding. We're the same exact age. I can go out here and do this too. And so, like, I just think it's really cool, man. Like I said, we may go out and give up 28 points a game, and our defense may not be that good.
Yeah.
But it is refreshing to see a coach look like he's having fun with the game of football again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we've talked about all the times we see CJ Hicks talking about Matt Patricia and stuff. And that carries over because, these guys come on these visits and they're talking to the current players a lot. And for a guy who's had a very rocky road at Ohio State and CJ Hicks to be as invested as he is right now, that's awesome.
That says a lot, man. That says a lot.
And then one other interesting name that is on campus this weekend is Richard Wesley, recently reclassified from 27 to 26. And 27 in the 27 class, he's the number 2 player.
Okay.
Falling to the 26 class, he falls to number 20 overall, number 3 edge. First visit to OSU. Definitely will be interesting to see, what Coach LJ can do there. And then, obviously spring game next weekend, we're going to have a ton of visitors. Always a good visit weekend. I haven't checked the weather to see what it looks like, but hopefully it's better than this weekend. But yeah, that's not even counting. We saw a bunch of top 10 lists come out this week, a bunch of top 5s that had Ohio State in them. Anytime you're sifting through those, you never know what you're going to get, though.
Yeah.
But we definitely wanted to hop on here and go over some of this stuff. Now that we're diving into, and again, we're not going to dive into the 27 kids until the 26 class is done. There are some big time 27s on campus this weekend. Let's make no mistake about that. But that's so far down the road that, it would overwhelm everybody if we talked about 26s and 27s together. I don't think that's fair to the listeners. Yeah. That's pretty much all I had prepared for, this nice little bag of chips. Obviously a shout out to your guy, CJ.
Yeah.
Any kids that you have seen as you've done stuff that intrigue you? Let's just throw that one out there real quick.
I mean, there are a few kids out there. I will say this: there's a kid right now, a nose guard at Olentangy. I'm gonna give them a plug, even though I'm not coaching there this year. I'm gonna give them a plug. A nose guard, Daniel Stevens, one of the best football players I've ever coached in my entire life. He just needs a chance. He's BB Landers all over again.
Ooh.
And he just needs one of these Power 4 schools to just say, hey, come on home, man. We'll give you an opportunity. He is a phenomenal young man, the type of guy you want to marry your daughter. And so if this ever comes across a Power 4 coach's desk, he's got some MAC offers, he's very well liked. But this is a kid that you want in your program. So shout out to Daniel. This is a kid that you definitely want in your program. He will make your program better. He's 6'1", 290-pound monster. Qualified for state in wrestling this year. There's an unblockable, just an unblockable kid. I mean, I've just not seen a nose guard play like this. And when I say BB Landers, I mean it. He's the type of guy who'll probably get the 310 pounds. He's not going to get any taller, but he'll probably get the 310 pounds and just be a force. And he just needs somebody in one of the Power 4s to take a chance on him, man. So that's my guy, man. And so I'm excited for him. I hope his recruitment picks up here soon. But if it doesn't, wherever he goes, he's going to be a great kid. But yeah, that's the guy, man, that's got a unique story, but a fantastic kid. And I'd love to see, one of these big name schools pop off for him.
Have you seen a picture of BB Landers lately?
I have not seen one.
So he works for the Buckeye school.
Okay.
I found that out through some of our guys that we both know that work there. Let me see if I can find one real quick while we're on here. I was floored. Like, obviously, I want to know if he still has the cowboy hat. Yeah, here we go. I don't know if he's still coaching at Wittenberg, but this is on Wittenberg's stat. Like,
there we go.
Yeah. I mean, totally different. I mean, which good for him, but that dude was underrated, man. He was.
Oh, heck yeah.
He was intense. But yes, that's a cool name to hear back. I haven't heard that name in a minute, like I said. But yeah, so that kind of wraps this episode up. Shout out to Chris at the Barn, Baseball and Softball Academy. Probably a little bit later week, not late, but Tuesday night we'll probably record the opening drive, given that we're dropping this. Again, obviously, if something happens, things change. Who knows? This weekend could get crazy. We could get 3 more commits. But with that, we will see you guys next week. And if anything pops out, keep an eye on the socials.